Federal agents, everyone stay where you are.
This is my business. What's your legal basis for this?
Hands visible, do not move.
8:07 a.m., a Tuesday in late August, on the west side of Atlanta. The first client of the day was still halfway through a wash-and set when the front door of Lush Roos Salon rattled like it had been hit by a shoulder. A bell chimed once, then stopped. The salon smelled like rosemary oil, citrus disinfectant, and heat from the flat irons warming up. A small speaker on the front desk played slow R&B at a polite volume, the kind meant to keep nerves down and tips up. On the mirror beside the waiting chairs, a handwritten sign read, "Appointments only. No walk-ins. Respect the space." Inside that space, Nia James had built something rare. Black-owned, woman-led, cash flow steady enough to hire 2 stylists and a receptionist. A place where women came in exhausted and left standing taller. Nia was behind the front desk, tapping tomorrow's bookings into the computer. Her nails clicked with practiced speed. She had a soft scarf tied around her hair and a mug of coffee that had already gone lukewarm. Normal. Controlled. Earned. Then the door opened again, harder. 5 men entered in a line that wasn't natural for customers. No hesitation. No greeting. Their shoes were heavy. Tactical in shape even if the uniforms weren't. They wore dark vests over plain clothes. Badges clipped where they could be seen. One of them held a folded paper, like it was a weapon he could point. "Federal agents," the lead man said, loud enough that the whole room would hear and stop. "Nobody moves. Nobody leaves." The speaker kept playing. For a second, the music felt obscene. Nia's eyes flicked to the mirror, to the reflection of her client in the chair, Tasha. 32, nurse, still in scrubs, hair wet and sectioned. Tasha's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The stylist's hands froze mid-calm. Nia stepped out from behind the desk with both palms visible, a reflex she didn't remember choosing. "What is this?" she asked, keeping her voice even, because the wrong tone could become an excuse. The lead agent unfolded the paper and held it up like a verdict. "We have a warrant." "A warrant for what?" Nia's voice was still calm, but her heart was already moving faster than her words. "You know what," the agent said, and he didn't. He didn't say her name, didn't ask if she was the owner, didn't verify identity. He looked past her, scanning the salon the way someone scans a room they plan to take apart. Nia took one more step forward. "I need to see that warrant, and I need your names." The second agent moved to the door and locked it from the inside. The third agent drifted toward the back hallway that led to the supply closet and the small office where the cash box sat inside a locked drawer. Nia's receptionist, Kara, stood up slowly from her chair, eyes wide. "Ma'am, sit down," the lead agent snapped, not even looking at Kara. Nia swallowed. She could feel her own breath turning shallow. She thought of every training video she'd ever watched, every story she'd heard. She knew how quickly routine turned into resisting. "I'm asking again," she said. "Show me the warrant, now." The lead agent finally looked directly at her. His eyes were flat, practiced. "You can read it after we secure the premises." "Secure from what?" Nia asked. "This is a salon." The agent smiled without warmth. "Ma'am, don't complicate this." That sentence landed like a threat. Not loud, not dramatic, but absolute. If she complicated it, it would become her fault. Behind Nia, Tasha's phone was still in her hand, screen glowing. She wasn't filming yet, but her thumb hovered like she might. Her eyes met Nia's in the mirror for half a second. "Are they really doing this?" Nia nodded once, barely visible. Not permission. Just acknowledgement. Reality. The fourth agent walked to the wall near the front desk and pointed up. "Cameras?" Kara hesitated. "Security, yes. The system's in the office." "Take us," the agent said. Nia stepped between him and Kira without touching either. "You don't touch my employee." The agent leaned in close enough that Nia could smell mint gum and stale coffee. "You don't tell us what we do." And then he did it. He put a hand on Nia's shoulder. Not a shove, not a strike, just a pressure meant to remind her that her body wasn't hers in that moment, not in her own business, not with customers watching, not with the music still playing like nothing had changed. Nia didn't flinch. She didn't swing. She didn't raise her voice, but her eyes sharpened. "Get your hand off me," she said. The room held its breath. The agent's hand stayed there another beat longer than necessary, long enough to make it clear he heard her. Then he removed it like he was doing her a favor. "All right," he said, louder now, performing for the room. Everyone remained seated, phones down. Tasha's thumb finally moved. The camera icon appeared. The phone angled slightly downward, filming without looking like filming. A survival tactic passed down like folklore. Nia watched the agents spread out. Two went toward the back office. One stayed by the door. The lead agent moved behind the front desk, ignoring Nia entirely, and began opening drawers like he owned the place. Kira spoke, voice trembling but steady enough to count. "Can I call our attorney?" The lead agent didn't even look up. "No. That's not lawful," Nia said before she could stop herself. That got his attention. He looked up slowly, then set his palm flat on the desk. "You want to argue law with federal agents in the middle of an active warrant?" "I want to protect my business," Nia said. He leaned forward, then stopped talking. The first moral line had already been crossed. They came in with a warrant they wouldn't show, locked the door, and physically asserted control over her in front of paying clients. But they weren't done. From the back hallway came the sound of a door being yanked open. Then a drawer pulled too hard, wood scraping against wood. A metal clatter, the sound of something small and locked being forced. Nia's head turned toward it. "Her office. That's private property," she said. "Everything in this building is subject to search," the agent answered. But he still hadn't shown the paper. And then, as if to punctuate the power imbalance, the agent reached across the counter and picked up Nia's phone that had been charging beside the computer. Nia's hand shot out instinctively, stopping just short of touching him. "That's mine." He held it up, screen still dark. "It's evidence now." "No," Nia said, voice low. "It is not." He turned it over, inspecting it like it was dirty. "You want to make this harder?" Nia felt something cold and sharp in her chest. Not fear anymore, a kind of anger that had nowhere to go. Her salon had rules. Appointment only. Respect the space. No walk-ins. And yet 5 strangers walked in and turned the place into a scene. Tasha's client cape rustled as she shifted. "Officer," she started. "Agent," the door guard corrected instantly. Loud, offended. "Say it right." Tasha stopped mid-syllable. Her eyes stayed on the guard. She was trying to decide whether she was allowed to be human. Nia glanced at the front window. The blinds were half open. Outside, a couple on the sidewalk slowed down, peering in. A delivery driver paused with a box in his hands, confused by the locked door. Public visibility had arrived. Not because Nia asked for it, because abuse of power always draws a crowd once it becomes spectacle. The lead agent finally placed the warrant on the counter face down. Nia stared at it. "Turn it over," she said. He didn't. Instead, he spoke like he was narrating her downfall. "We have information this business has been used to launder proceeds from fraud." The words hit like gasoline. Fraud. Launder. Proceeds. Federal. Labels that stuck, no matter what came next. Kira gasped softly. Tasha's stylist whispered, "Oh my God." Nia's face stayed still. "That's a lie." The agent's eyes narrowed, as if the truth offended him. "We'll see." In the back, an agent emerged holding a black lockbox, the one Nia kept for petty cash and receipts. A box she used because some clients still paid in cash and she liked to keep the books clean. The agent held it up like a trophy. "Found it." Nia's voice sharpened. "That box is for receipts, it's documented." The lead agent didn't care. He nodded once, and the agent with the lockbox began prying it open with a tool that had no business in a hair salon. A clear legal line was crossed the moment they began forcing open property without presenting the warrant properly and without allowing counsel. A clear physical line had already been crossed with a hand on her shoulder. Now they were moving into something worse. Narrative theft. Building a story of criminality in real time, with props taken from her own office. Nia felt her mind doing what it did under stress, counting details for later. The time. The number of agents. The fact they locked the door. The refusal to show the warrant. The language. "Don't complicate this. Stop talking. Evidence now." Tasha's phone caught it all from the angle of her lap. The desk. The badge. The hand. The lockbox. The lead agent lifted the salon's appointment book, flipping pages quickly, scanning names. These clients pay you how? However they pay, Nia said. Like any business. He paused on a page, then smirked like he'd found something incriminating. A lot of cash. Nia watched him hold that smirk in place for the room to see. A silent suggestion, see? Look at this. She's dirty. Tasha's jaw tightened. I pay cash sometimes, she said before she could stop herself. So do a lot of people. The door guard snapped his head toward her. Did I tell you to speak? Tasha met his eyes. I'm a client, she said. I'm not a suspect. He took one step toward her. A small movement, but the room felt it. The kind of step meant to make a grown woman shrink in a chair. Nia moved before thought could fully form. She stepped into the space between them, not touching, just occupying. Back away from my customer, she said. The guard's lips curled. You want to obstruct an investigation? Nia's voice stayed even. I want you to stop intimidating people. The lead agent exhaled like he was tired of her dignity. He pointed at Nia. You are on thin ice. Nia's eyes didn't move. Then do your job, correctly. For a moment, the room was silent except for the speaker. Still playing, still pretending this was normal. Then the lead agent made a choice. He reached out and grabbed Nia's wrist, not hard enough to bruise immediately, but hard enough to control. He pulled her hand forward onto the counter. Nia's body went rigid. Her breath stopped. Kara screamed, a small sound that broke into the air like glass. Tasha's phone tilted up. What are you doing? Nia demanded. Detaining you? The agent said, voice loud now. For anyone outside, for any later report, for interference. I haven't touched you, Nia said, and the truth sounded like it wasn't enough. He twisted her wrist just enough to force compliance, to make her wince, to make her pain part of his authority. That was the moment the salon became a crime scene of a different kind, not fraud, not laundering. Abuse of power under color of law, recorded, witnessed, undeniable. Stop, Tasha said, louder now, no longer careful. You're hurting her. The guard turned toward Tasha and pointed. Phone down. Tasha didn't. No, she said. This is my evidence. The lead agent's head snapped toward Tasha. His grip on Nia tightened. Seize the phone. The guard moved. Nia's mind raced. If they took the phone, the story would die inside the building. This would become whatever they wrote it to be. Nia forced her voice through the pressure. Tasha, send it, she said, clipped, urgent, now. Tasha's thumb moved fast. She didn't argue. She didn't hesitate. She tapped share. A text thread. A name, Marcus, @T. She hit send. The guard lunged too late. His hand slapped at the phone, but the message had already left. A tiny digital act, a single decision, and the entire trajectory changed. The agents realized it too. You could see it in how the lead agent's eyes flickered. The way the guard froze for a fraction of a second, then masked it with anger. The lead agent released Nia's wrist abruptly. Like letting go would erase what he'd done. Everyone's phones, he barked. Collect them. Kira backed away, shaking her head. You can't? The agent rounded on her. Do you want to join her? Nia held her wrist close to her body, not rubbing it, not giving them the satisfaction of visible weakness. She looked at Kira. One small shake of the head. Don't. Not here. Not like this. Outside, the couple on the sidewalk had stopped completely. The delivery driver had stepped closer to the glass. Someone across the street raised their own phone, filming through the window. Public visibility multiplied. The agents work faster now. A sign of fear. Not of Nia. Of exposure. They dumped the lockbox contents onto the counter receipts. Petty cash. A stack of deposit slips. Paper scattered like they wanted the mess to look like guilt. The lead agent spoke in a voice meant to sound official, not panicked. This business is under federal investigation. Cooperation will be noted. Nia stared at the scattered receipts, the months of honest work treated like contraband. You came here to humiliate me, she said quietly. The agent's mouth tightened. We came here because you're involved in criminal activity. Nia's eyes stayed locked on his. Prove it, she said. He didn't answer. Because he couldn't. Not with what he had. Not with what he'd done. When they finally unlocked the door, nearly 40 minutes had passed. 40 minutes of control, intimidation, and performance. 40 minutes long enough for the salon's normal morning to become a memory. As the agents filed out, the lead agent paused at the threshold and turned back, like he needed the last word in her space. "This isn't over," he said. Nia didn't blink. "It is for you," she replied. He smiled again, thin and cruel, then walked out into the sunlight like nothing had happened. But something had happened. Something irreversible had begun, and none of them knew it yet. 2 hours later, Nia sat in the back office with Marcus on speakerphone, her attorney's voice calm but sharpened by the edge of what he'd just watched. "Play it again," Marcus said. Tasha's video replayed on Nia's laptop. The sound of the bell, the command to not move, the refusal to show the warrant, the hand on her shoulder, the wrist grab, the twist, the order to seize the phone. Marcus let the video run without interruption. When it ended, he spoke one sentence that landed heavier than the agent's threats. "They're finished." Nia swallowed. "They're federal." "So is the law," Marcus said. "And so is a civil rights lawsuit. And so is internal affairs. And so is the inspector general." Nia stared at her wrist. A faint red line had become visible now. Not dramatic. Not cinematic. Real. The kind of mark that doesn't look like much until it's attached to a pattern. Marcus's voice turned clinical. "We need their names. Badge numbers. The warrant. Any paperwork they left." "They left nothing," Nia said. "Then we get it," Marcus replied. That was the delayed reveal. The agents had come in pretending to be untouchable, but they had made one fatal mistake. They did it in front of witnesses, on camera, in a business with security footage, and in a city where federal oversight wasn't theoretical. Nia didn't post the video that day, not because she was afraid, because Marcus told her the truth. If she wanted justice, she couldn't turn it into entertainment first. She had to build a case that would survive their attempts to bury it. So they started with the quiet work. Marcus filed an emergency motion demanding preservation of evidence. The salon's security footage, the agent's body cam footage, radio traffic, the warrant application, the inventory list of seized items, and any internal communications referencing Lush Roast Salon. He sent certified letters to the agency's legal office before the sun set, the kind that create paper trails officials can't later pretend didn't exist. Nia met with her staff and clients, one by one, not for sympathy, for sworn statements. Kira described the moment the door was locked. The stylist described the way the agent stood too close to Tasha, the way his step was meant to shrink her. Tasha described the wrist twist and the order to seize her phone, and the instant she hit send. Outside witnesses described seeing armed men in vests inside a salon, with women trapped behind a locked door. Then Marcus did something that shifted this from personal to legal. He filed a federal civil rights complaint alleging unlawful detention, excessive force, retaliation for speech, and unlawful seizure of property under statutes that don't care whether the person abusing power wears a local badge or a federal one. Within a week, an official letter arrived from the agency. It was cold, polished, denying wrongdoing, claiming the agents acted in accordance with policy, claiming reasonable measures were used, the kind of letter designed to make ordinary people quit. Marcus didn't blink. He requested the warrant and supporting affidavit through discovery. That's when the second reveal arrived, delayed on purpose by the system that hoped nobody would push far enough to see it. The warrant was not for Nia. The warrant was tied to a different name, entirely a man who had once rented a chair in the salon for 2 months the previous year. A self-described entrepreneur who paid his rent late and left suddenly after disagreement about boundaries and client privacy. Nia had kicked him out. The affidavit listed his alleged involvement in a fraud ring. It also listed associated locations, and among them, Lush Roast Salon. But the affidavit had no evidence that Nia knew him beyond the rental agreement. No evidence she was involved. No evidence the salon was laundering money. Just association. And then there was something worse. The warrant authorized a search, not a lockdown. It did not authorize detaining clients. It did not authorize seizure of personal phones without probable cause. It did not authorize physical force against the business owner for asking to see the document. The agents had expanded their power on the spot. They had written themselves permission with their hands. When Marcus deposed the lead agent months later under oath, the man's confidence returned at first. He spoke in policy language. He tried to make secure the premises sound like a safety measure. Then Marcus played Tasha's video in the deposition room on a large screen without warning. The agent watched himself twist Nia's wrist. He watched himself order the phone seized. He watched the door locked. For the first time, his face changed. Not regret. Calculation. He realized the story was no longer his to write. Marcus asked one question. Quiet, surgical. Where, in the warrant, does it say you may lock the door? The agent's jaw tightened. It was necessary. Answer the question, Marcus said. The agent hesitated. It doesn't. And where in the warrant does it say you may seize a client's phone because she is recording? Another pause. It doesn't. And where in the warrant does it authorize physical force against Ms. James for speaking? Silence held too long. The record captured it. The court reporter's keys clicked like a heartbeat. The agent finally said, I acted in the moment. Marcus leaned forward slightly. You acted in the moment, he repeated, and in that moment you violated her rights. The investigation expanded after that deposition. The agency's Office of Inspector General opened a formal inquiry, not because they suddenly cared about Nia's dignity, but because the evidence threatened the agency itself. Federal bodies protect their legitimacy like oxygen. A video like that doesn't just hurt a person, it poisons trust. Body cam footage was obtained. It showed the agents joking in the parking lot before entering, talking about making an example. It showed one of them saying, she's gonna get loud, like they anticipated, even wanted escalation. The Salon security footage showed the door being locked from the inside. The agent's own radio traffic revealed a supervisor had told them, keep it tight, no chaos. And they created chaos anyway. The agency tried to contain damage in the oldest way institutions know. They offered a settlement. A number so large it sounded unreal. Nia read it twice before she let herself breathe. $36.2 million, not for her feelings. 4 violations documented in video, corroborated by witnesses, amplified by their own footage, and backed by a warrant that did not authorize what they did. It wasn't a gift, it was a price. A calculation made by lawyers who knew a jury would see the same thing the camera saw. A black-owned business treated like a target, a woman's rights handled like an inconvenience, and federal authority used as theater. Nia didn't celebrate when she signed. She sat in the same salon chair where Tasha had been, the place where normal had been interrupted. And she felt something quiet settle in her chest, because money is not justice by itself. Justice is consequence. And consequence finally arrived like a door closing. The lead agent was terminated, not reassigned, not retired, fired, with cause stated in official documents that would follow him to every future attempt at authority. 2 other agents were suspended, then resigned under investigation. The agency implemented a revised operations directive for business searches, explicit prohibitions on locking doors absent exigent circumstances, mandatory display of warrants upon request unless safety is compromised, and updated training on recording rights policies written in the dry language of bureaucracy. Born from one salon's mourning turning into a federal embarrassment, Nia reopened the next day after the settlement was announced, not because she needed the money, but because she refused to let them take the space. A new sign went up beside the appointment list, printed cleanly, framed like a certificate. In this space, your rights are not nugible. Clients read it quotable. Clients read it quietly. Some nodded once. Some exhaled like they'd been holding their breath for years. Nia didn't give interviews full of tears. She didn't sell her story as pain. She sat with her staff, paid off their debts, funded college accounts for her employees' kids, and opened a legal defense fund for other small businesses targeted under vague association warrants. The moral resolution wasn't loud. It was final. Federal agents stormed a black-owned salon expecting fear, silence, and a story they could control. Hours later, the shock that hit back wasn't just a number on paper. It was the end of careers, the rewriting of policy, and a public record that said, in plain language, that power is not permission. If you want more stories where accountability actually lands, subscribe.